mission. You are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Keep spreading the message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be
point.
stopped. Message is already here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is been a long time. It's been quite a while. I think it's been over a month, over 2 months since doing a podcast on here, and it was an abrupt hiatus that I took. a lot of things have been going on in the background, health wise, mental health wise, family wise. I mean, but it feels really good to be back and pretty much do like a restart of this podcast and find a better way of scheduling everything out and paying more attention to events, particularly more local events and stuff like that. But to talk about the physical mental health part, a lot of things could bog parents down with how life goes. Trying to be able to juggle work, home life, and be present, physically and mentally. And mostly it's like the mental part that we happen to fall victim to when we are faced with like uncertainties or maybe moments of grief, because you want to participate and be an effective person of society, but at the same time you also want to make sure that you're being present with your family, and that was really like my main focus. I mean, it's always my main focus, but I wasn't being I don't think I was being I was trying to do too many things at once, basically, and I felt like I was being a little bit not present family wise, and also present for myself personally. And I think mostly that's what took me on this hiatus, and I kind of was already coming to that point during the last few episodes that I did, and the energy of me, I just felt like it wasn't there for me to participate in anything productive, conversation wise, and and maybe taking a different turn on different topics, and not just always focusing on what the world is in crisis of, even though those things are important. I think trying to scale it down a little bit to talk about personal ideas between people and really what they think, instead of just kind of driving off of like maybe an agenda or a perceived agenda. But in this podcast today is going to be brief. I'm just saying, I'm just coming back on just to let people know that this is still happening. This is still going on. There's going to be much more of a focus on music, because I've been yearning for, my deepest desires are for music solely. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I've always been able to express myself on an artistic level and on a personal level when it comes to being vocal and speaking out about things that are important to me and that I think that would be relatable to other people, that it may who it may touch. And also I make music. I've always made music for myself because that was just the outlet for me to be me. And podcasting is pretty much brand new, but I mean, the type of conversations that I have aren't necessarily brand new to me, or ideas being exchanged isn't a brand new idea of things that I participated in. I've always done that throughout my entire life. I've always been very vocal about, very controversial things, or very opinionated, or even very heavily researched on things, that, the I guess the average person that you come across really isn't privy to, or that they may be privy to, but they're only privy to the surface of it. And I try to be that platform, not meaning like a podcast, but that platform for people to hopefully take what's said, and that they run with it and they go and do their own research. And I'm not saying that I know everything, but I know a few things. And I'm a student forever, so regardless of how much I know. But a lot of that has taken its toll because, before being a father, before being a family man, before having a house, owning a house, and being, taking care of a family, I didn't worry about those things. You know what I'm saying? I didn't worry about anybody to be careful of, oh, not, that's not the word that I want. Not be careful, but like, I was always drawn into particular researches that, now there's like a worry of the future, like an actual real concerning worry of the future. And that's not because I'm necessarily worried for the future, but I'm more so worried about my children's future. And, you cannot defeat Father Time. So when it comes to the point of when you're too old to do anything, right? And obviously I'm 40 years old, so it's not like I'm saying like I'm getting there. Like I believe that 40 is still very much young, and it's much more on the younger side than it is the older side. I would say 40 is experienced, right? And because you're still physically strong, you're still mentally strong, you're still very able-bodied, you can keep up with most things. But with that said, uh, we're not here forever. And I think that's what really came to my realization when I took this hiatus from podcasting, and just I pretty much took a hiatus from like everything, from like reading into a lot of things. And yeah, I would post, periodically here and there about some issues that are, that would go on in the world, but I wouldn't, I would not allow that stuff to kind of flood my mind and overtake, the extra added anxiety that I was already experiencing in the first place. And because I realized, even being at 40 years old and you're a father and you own a home, or not even, you're taking care of home or whatever, whether you rent or whether you own. And by the way, I never thought that I would ever come to a level of ever owning a home. Like I never thought it would ever happen. And granted, it's still probably not the best thing to do for most people. It most certainly is a struggle for me, not for nothing, but at the same time, like it's an incredible blessing that it's happened at all, because I never thought it would happen. And before that, I never thought I would even have, I never thought that I would have a son that would bear, that would be from, I have 3 children, and I've talked about this in the past before. 2 of them are not of me, but they are mine. But what really changed me was actually having my own son and actually experiencing that birth process, and seeing him come out, and seeing him lay on his mother's chest and looking at me looking at him. And it's indescribable of how that changed me internally, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I can't really describe it. You'd have to experience it. And if you're ever blessed to ever experience something like that, have have many children. Um, because a big part of me wishes that I would have had children sooner. I mean, I'm not saying we always think like, oh, I wish I did all these things. So these things just pop in my head. I'm just saying it from a perspective because like I'm a little ahead in time, but uh, uh, so basically by taking this hiatus and all this stuff, I was reflecting on like, my mortality basically. I hadn't really looked at it like in depth. And I'm not saying this like there's some secret health problem that has happened to me or anything like that. That's not what I'm referring to. But the idea of it being a legitimate factor is like, oh, a light bulb, like, oh wow, we can actually, we're not here for very long. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted, I I wasn't putting the correct energy that I've been wanting to put both on things that I love to do and also family. I was trying to figure out this balance, and I still try to figure out that balance, but the more important part to me is raising my children and being and making sure that they're on the better paths that myself wasn't on, or during when I was their age. So health has been a factor because I've definitely lacked on like physical health, like being like being physical, like there's times, I mean, granted, my thankfully my job is a physical job for the most part. You're kind of up in and out of a truck, and you walk around the city for X amount of miles most days and all that stuff. So there's a physicality to it. So there is a health factor to that's positive and beneficial. But overall, physically, I've lacked quite a bit as far as like being like like keeping the body strong, and keeping the body healthy. I could do better. I could do a way better. And especially being at 40 now, it's like, you're no longer a 20-year-old man or a 30-year-old man that I tell myself. And, you got to be careful of what you're putting in your body and all that stuff. Like, so these are these are things that I've gone to the doctors about these past month or so. This is my hiatus that I went on. So just to make sure, like, where I'm at internally. And there are a few things I need working on, but nothing that the doctor has ever told me that is of great concern. Just things that that just need to be worked on, and once those reach at a certain level or whatever, basically just told me to keep doing what I'm doing as far as eating better and being more physical. And that's my path. That's been my motivation at this point. Shout outs to Christine. Oh, I just saw you. I just saw that message. Yeah, 40 definitely hits different for sure. 40 definitely hits different. Yeah, man. I mean, the aches and pains come and go a little bit more frequently than not. Although I do this, I drink tea every now and then, and I add quite a bit of turmeric to my tea, and sometimes I'll even add turmeric to like certain salads and stuff like that. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. It might be too spicy for some people. If you put a little bit too much, it can be. I mean, I like it. I don't really measure how much I put in. I put as much as I can handle, I guess. You can always take it as a supplement too. When you look up supplements though, you want to make sure that there's no additives and no like binders or anything like that. Like nothing that's like that is you want to make sure that it's as natural as possible when you're taking any type of supplement. But I think nature's way is a supplement that I take. That's like it's a multivitamin. But it's make sure you do your research on supplements and stuff like that. I'm not an expert on which ones to take. I do a lot of reading on what I'm putting in my body, and so far I think it's called Nature's Way. And that's like the number one that I like, because here's the thing. Here's what happened to me. I'll tell this story. Yes, mentally more than anything is it's a whole new level. And here's the thing, Christine. By the way, we haven't talked in such a long time too. I know we message each other every now and then on Facebook about, certain things and what's going on in the world and stuff like that, and like stuff that goes on personally and all that stuff. But this is, I was explaining in the beginning. I'm not sure when you tuned in, but I took this hiatus because I had to scale myself away back, and and there was a lot of other family things going on, like my mother. She's doing a lot better, but she's also having her own internal struggle mentally too, because of what has happened to her, but she's doing a lot better, and her faith is becoming a lot more stronger, and so, like, there's a positive to the darkness that comes upon us. And I feel like the more darkness that comes upon me, the closer I become in tune to the light. It's a weird, it's so strange. It's like the devil's trying to hold you back, or your demons just want to like be at that, be in that doorway just to as you're getting to a point of lightness and being praiseful and all that stuff, and then the demons start knocking, and they want to just kind of like knock you down or just hold you back or whatever, and yet, despite of that, brings you closer to light. It's as though the devil comes so pissed off at you and God, he can't help himself but to try, and yet is baffled by the fact that you are still drawn to the light more. So that has been my hiatus for a little bit. Yeah, yes, exactly, a pruning process. That's perfect to say. That is perfect to say. Yeah, because when you go pruning, you don't destroy the bush. You take away the things that aren't growing, or take away the things that are unneeded on the bush, and then from there it takes over and blooms more things over that, and so on and so forth. It's like, so I feel like that's what's happened to me these past couple of months, and during the hiatus and all that stuff, by taking a step away from podcasting and not really diving into too much of the politics stuff, because I feel like that was really drawing away from my physical health and my mental health and my spiritual health, and being in tune with family, which is the most important part of my life. And I honestly was at the point where I was like, I don't like, I just want to I'd rather just get it. And here's the thing. I love music, and I'm going to step back into it, because it's been a really long time, and I have so many ideas on what I want to do musically, and it's just on a personal thing. It's always been my way of self-expression. And since that I've been through these things, and now that my faith is in a much different, at a much different level, and I guess humility and humbleness, more so than it ever was throughout my life. Like I feel like my faith is at peak level for the most part. I mean, I certainly could be better at being more attentive to reading and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is my heart and my mind and my soul are it's unwavered. You know what I'm saying? Despite if I have any doubts or anything like that of anything, or of myself, or of life itself, I recognize that and I don't mean this by just having material things, like this just means that you're blessed, but this is how I translate it in a way where I've been in really shit situations in my life in the past, and I've been in really, really pressure hard situations within the last 2 years, within the last 5, 10, 15 years. And yet everything that I have, I feel rich by. And none of these, like this microphone, none of these electronics necessarily mean anything to me if I didn't have them. But I have a really good family. I have a really loving family that I'm raising, right? That me and my wife were raising. And we have a house. It's an old house with old bones, but we have a house. And we have these things, and I'm not saying like that, and I'm not bragging either. By any stretch of the imagination, I'm not bragging, because I'm saying this because there's times where I'm like, well, why is this so hard? And why, granted, none of us want any of the bills to go up, right? We don't want any of the electricity to go up, because that's what our state's doing and all that stuff. But despite of these things that we think that are weighing us down, we have things that have been blessed to us. And I'm trying to be more thankful of that than I'm trying to be thankful of that and appreciative of that, but also thankful for the hardship that it got, that we had to go through to get it. It's that 40 minute. It's like the story of the Israelites in the Promised Land. Yes, I remember when yes, yeah, yep, yo, that's exactly what I think. All the noise of the world was drowning me, so I know exactly what. Yep, yeah, it's exactly that. What you said there. It's like the story of the Israelites in the Promised Land. It's most definitely just like that. I mean, not just like, I'm not walking through like 40 years of desert, getting lost in the desert necessarily. Although in some sense, in some way, we are all lost in the desert, and then we find ourselves, right? Or we are found rather. And slowly and surely the lights start flickering on. And like I'm saying, like I said earlier, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I still had a faith, but it was like a reckless type of faith. It wasn't like, I didn't put all of my rest into faith, right? Like what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to put all of our rest there. And I wasn't doing that. And in the last, I would say 5 years, has been peak level faith for me. And within the last year or two, it's been peak level faith for me. And I'm not saying this like, oh, I'm like, am I praying every day? Am I talking to God every day? Am I reading every day? Like I trust me, like there's times where I'm not, but at the same time, I also think of this in a certain light too, is like, there are things that I do that I'm saying that I am actually talking and being in tune with God and being in that conversation. But it varies differently from how I do it, I guess. And this is just me personally. So that hiatus was needed for me to kind of step away. I didn't really want to read any politics for the most part. I mean, I would, but I wouldn't. I would try and stay away. I would try and just look at most of the surface of what's going on. Like I was in tune. I've been in tune with the first start of the war with Iran between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. I've been in tune with all that. I know majority of what's been going on, and I know why it's been going on also. Other than the surface level stuff that they tell you on the news, at the end of the day, it's all part of this. Excuse me, I gotta fix this hair. My hair's still wet. From all of this stuff is basically coming to be the Abraham Accords is going to turn into the Abraham Shield. The whole Middle East and all that stuff is supposed to unify. And yes, that sounds good on the surface and all that stuff, but there's a whole lot to it. I'm not trying to get into any of that today, really, for the most part. I do want to talk about some local stuff that's happened, and I'll get to that in a moment. It's all about the Second Amendment stuff, but this hiatus was really to figure out basically my physical health, because there was a point where I was experiencing extreme anxiety, like heart palpitation anxiety. I thought I was dying, like literally. Like I've pretty much have had episodes of anxiety throughout my life and all this stuff, but this one, I know what that is, and I've always been able to overcome it without any type of, help or anything like that. Or for the most part, I just knew what it was, and I was kind of used to it when it would happen. And just kind of like that jittery type feeling where you get overwhelmed or whatever. But this time around, especially being at 40, right? There was an severe overwhelming of anxiety that I was experiencing, like heart palpitations. I mean, I legit thought I was like near death or something like that. I didn't feel like I was. It was just like that. The emotional inside part. I was like, damn, am I dying? Like I'm feeling all of this stuff that I don't want to feel. So I went to the doctor and all that stuff. So come to find out, it was a vitamin that I had stopped taking, and I didn't stop taking because I didn't want to. I just hadn't gone and bought the vitamin that I was taking. So I just hadn't gotten around to do it. And then my body just started freaking out. And this has happened to me one other time, just not nearly as bad. Right. And so, and it's this multivitamin that I take. I've taken it for years. It's a clean multivitamin. I believe the brand is called Nature's Way. I know it says Nature's on it, and it's a glass bottle. Pretty expensive, but it's really good. It's just a multivitamin, so it's good for your heart, good for your blood, good for your immune system, good for stress. It keeps, the things that I know I personally don't probably normally intake. I know some greens, if you eat like things like cilantro or spinach, it gives you niacin and all that stuff, and that's really good for your heart. And I'm heart sensitive, which means that I'm particularly, I can feel my heartbeat most times, and that's been like that for basically my entire life, ever since I was like 15, 16. Years before that, I never knew that my heartbeat was ever there for the most part. But at 15, 16, something happened to me. Something traumatic happened to me. Like and what happened was, it was my first time witnessing a wake. And it was a good friend of mine. Someone may know him out there if they hear this podcast. His name was Joey Duart. And I think he passed away. Oh man, I think I was in junior high, 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere around there. I think no, 9th grade. I was in high school, I believe. It was right around there, right around that time. He was hit by a car. I think he was riding his bike, and I think he had suffered like a severe head injury. And anyway, he passed away. I think he was like 16-ish, maybe 15, 16, somewhere around there. He was a good friend. He was a good dude from the time that I knew him. And I ended up going to his wake, and for whatever reason, it freaked me out. I don't know why. It just did. It freaked me the hell out somehow. Like I became like extremely paranoid, something like that. Also, I don't think it helped that I was smoking weed at this time, like heavily at this age. I don't think that helped at all. I think that might have worsened it, because I at that time, from that point forward, I had associated my anxiety with that experience and smoking weed and all that stuff. And from there forward, man, I never not felt my heartbeat since. I mean, it's not all the time. Like right now, I don't feel it at all. I guess it all depends on, the anxiety level, really. So anyway, moving forward, 40 years old now, It doesn't like that event doesn't affect me anymore per se. I mean, that was a sad time, and I think about it every now and then. Um, I have since gone through other things throughout my life, and but this event had nothing to do with anything. It just had something to do with like my body was just out of whack. But all of those experiences and all that, type of level of anxiety, it's like it brings everything up. It just, you know what I'm saying? So you go through it, and anyway, I had gone to the doctor and all that stuff. They checked the blood. Blood was good. Everything was good. Heart was good. She listened to it. I'm still going to be going on to like a heart monitor. I've done that before in the past too. It's just all it does. Excuse me. It just listens and all that stuff. I've done it probably a handful of times throughout my life. It's all precautionary stuff. But I mean, other than that, nothing's ever been found or anything like that. It's all pure, just trying to make sure everything's good. So, long story short, I get back onto the vitamin. Everything just settles down. And this isn't placebo, anything like that, because it's happened to me once already. And it's really just the body, like when you feed the body for a long, and someone would say like, well, is your body dependent? I mean, your body is depending on natural things all the time. So if you feed it the things that it actually needs, because what niacin and there's another thing in there. There's a few things in there that are very heart healthy. Niacin, I believe, that regulates your heartbeat and blood flow or whatever. And I felt like that's been something that's been very helpful for me throughout my life. Respiratory wise, like by working out, you can feel that you're charged and all that stuff. Like it just does that effect to me. So anyway, this I'm just mentioning the hiatus because I wanted to focus on health. I wanted to get myself a little bit more mental clarity, and I wanted to focus on family. I don't know if it's probably stems from a childhood thing, maybe of mine or whatever. But I'm particularly trying. I particularly make an effort to make sure that I'm being attentive to my children, right? Especially, my 4-year-old, because he's the most needy. But I love that. You know what I mean? He brings me an incredible amount of joy. They all bring me an incredible amount of joy. So see, when I talk about my children, I don't ever want to make it seem like, oh, it's, because my son's 4 years old, and then I have a 12-year-old and a 21-year-old, right? So there's a huge age gap. So they understand. So, and they bring joy to me too, in different ways. My son, my 4-year-old son is he's just super innocent, wild, got a hell of an attitude, a lot of character, but it's the joy that comes from him is a little different because of his supreme innocence. And for me, like, I can view myself through his eyes at his age. And I think that's why, I think that's why it's been such an impact on me. I go through these waves of emotions over it. And so by realizing my mortality and realizing my health is important, I want to make sure that I'm here for as long as possible. You know what I'm saying? For him and for them. So that's been my hiatus and my mission, and just trying to scale back and take a deep breath back from, all the political stuff and like that, because it's getting wild out there. We know it. I mean, look at what they're all doing. it doesn't change the plan. It's and I keep saying, and I'll keep saying this, it's all part of the plan. Um, but what some things has happened recently in Rhode Island is I was at the State House. Shout outs to Iraq, by the way, my boy Iraq, Eric Rat Castle. Me and him met up at the State House. I believe, when was that? It was Wednesday, right? Wednesday was the 8th. Yeah. So April 8th at about 4 or 5 o'clock, we show up, or I show up, I meet him there, and we're in the State House. And so the State House, the reason why we were at the State House is because there was these super radical anti-Second Amendment gun grabbing bills. I'll bring that up really quickly. These bills are so radical. Like, basically, it's quite literally, it's banning the ownership of anything semi-automatic. I think it's right here. Assault weapons possession ban, Bill H8073/S2710. It moves beyond the 2025 sales ban to ban the possession of many semi-automatic rifles and pistols. Individuals who lawfully own these firearms before July 1st, 2026 would have to dispose of them by December 31st, 2026, or face felony charges up to 10 years in prison and fines up to $10,000. Now it's not in effect. It's not in law. But if that were to become law, that law, and I'm using law very lightly, ladies and gentlemen, because the Constitution is the supreme law. Your Second Amendment is the supreme law. It's not a privilege. It is a right. But according to their law, by individuals who lawfully own those firearms before July 1st, 2026, would have to dispose of them by December 31st, 2026, or face felony charges up to 10 years in prison and fines up to $10,000. So disposing means to sell them back or to give them, I guess, to the police station and have them take them. They'll say they'll destroy them, but they won't. They'll keep them for you where you can't get them back. So that was like one of the big critical ones. A few others was one gun a month law, Bill S0286/87035, prohibits purchasing or taking possession of more than one firearm, pistol, rifle, or shotgun within a 30-day period, with exceptions for law enforcement and collectors. Another Bill S2726, mandatory training, requires all individuals seeking to possess a firearm, excluding police and military, to complete and pass a basic firearm safety training course. Now, everyone should go and do a basic firearm safety training course, but to mandate that would require would require you to, in order for you to get a firearm, don't see that as being anywhere productive or necessary at all. However, it's kind of like a gray area, because I kind of think that people should, especially if you're going to use it to protect yourself or protect others in property. I think you should do that. It'd be smart to do that. It'd be a logical thing to do. But to make something law in order to say you can only, if you do this step, then you can exercise your right, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that stipulation at all. The Second Amendment is not a right. I'm sorry. The Second Amendment is not a privilege. It is a right. So another bill, 80. Hold on, I put this on the screen. I'm on Google search, by the way, but you can go to the RI State House. I don't have that up, but these are a general definition of what these bills are. A summary. I'll put that on screen. Hold on, give me a second here. That way you can see it. So I'm just not reading it. All right. So Bill H-071 is ammunition background checks. So prohibits the sale or transfer of ammunition unless the purchaser undergoes a background check. So they would require you to get a background check prior to actually purchasing ammunition. So you go to the gun store, you say, hey, I want 100 rounds of 9mm or whatever, 22, 5.56, 7.62, 803, no, not 803, 203 rather, whatever, any ammunition, right? Blank rounds. You go there, and the process would be that you'd have to fill out paperwork just like you would for filling out paperwork to buy a firearm, and you'd have to go through a background check in order to buy ammunition. Great. So that's that bill. Another big one is the liability insurance. Bill H8075. This bill proposes forcing gun owners to maintain an insurance policy of at least $1 million. So you know those ads and those commercials that come up and they say like, hey, you need to get your insurance, blah blah blah. Now it's a good thing, I guess, to probably get insurance. I don't know. I honestly haven't looked too far into that. Because I mean, if the state wants to convict you, they're going to try and convict you. I don't see what insurance would do. If you're lawfully defending yourself, if you're lawfully defending someone else or your property, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. That's what keeps you from. That's what keeps you from being unlawfully convicted. Someone breaks into your house. Someone tries to mug you on the street. Someone tries to hurt one of your family members, and you happen to put them down by shooting them or whatever. You need insurance for that? Like, you just used your insurance. you used the .45 caliber, and that was your insurance. The person that tried to mug you, they made their choice. I mean, I'm not saying, because God forbid that these situations happen, but God forbid that it happens to you, happens to me. You know, I personally don't want to be in that situation to do that. But, you know, if God forbid that it happens, I'm going to do what I have to do. You're going to do what you have to do. And that's that. You know, you're not going to just run up on me and try to take something that ain't yours. You're not going to try and run up in my house. You're not going to try and hurt my family members. You're not going to try and, you know, think that you're going to make a victim out of somebody. You just, you know, I don't need insurance to defend myself. I don't need insurance to exercise my right to defend myself against, you know, criminal people or the government. I don't need that. My insurance is the Constitution. That's it. And there's another one here. There's a bill 2026-87557, and I think 2026-S2611 enables civil lawsuits at the state level against firearm sellers or manufacturers who fail to take reasonable controls to prevent illegal acquisition or modification of their products. So I think what this is saying is that it would make the firearm manufacturer liable for if their firearms were to be modified. And I guess like they would basically force some type of, I don't know, stipulation on their firearm or whatever, on the make of their firearm, so that they can't be illegally modified, whatever illegal modification means. I mean, they don't identify what an illegal because they've tried to make bump stocks illegal modifications. So, I didn't even put that on the screen. I'm sorry. I thought I had the words on the screen, but so yeah, I mean that's what I was doing at the state house. Shout outs to my boy Rat Castle. He was up there too. And mind you, people, there was a huge turnout. And people just, I mean, you need to vote. We need to vote. We need to vote these people out of their seats so that they cannot put these type of arbitrary bills. And I don't know if there's if there's some type of constitutional process, language that isn't there anything that would prevent these type of arbitrary laws to be written up, like the Constitution, just by bringing up simple aspects of the Constitution that should immediately null and void those types of things to even go up for vote. And even if even if it were to go up for vote and pass for vote, it's still null and void because it's trying to trump the Constitution. I mean, hold on. I mean, do I have to remind people what the Constitution actually says? Just want to make sure I get the freaking language correctly. Second Amendment. It's just very simple. It's very simple. Like anything that comes up as that wants to be made, like there really isn't law. There's no law that's really in line. I mean, there are some laws that are in line with the Constitution, but if there's a law that's out of line of the Constitution, then that law is null and void. It's just null and void. That's just reality. And there's a reason for that. How do I share the screen? Oh yeah. Here we go. Yeah, so I mean, look. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Hold on, I didn't even put it on the screen. Sorry about that. Here we go. The Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And, people will say like, oh, that was written in like, whatever, 1700s, where in 2026, they didn't think that we were going to have, AR-15s, semi-automatic weapons and all that stuff. They didn't, the founders didn't think that we were going to, didn't anticipate that. Are you kidding me? First of all, the founders were geniuses. Like, they weren't stupid people. They weren't stupid guys. They definitely anticipated technology to become more advanced over time. They were living in one of the most advanced technological eras of their time. So of course they anticipated technology to expand. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, ratified in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights, protects the rights of the people to keep and bear arms. So Yeah, and like key phrases like well-regulated militia historically refers to a citizen militia, though debates exist over whether this applies state regulation or general competency with firearms. Right of the people, interpreted by the Supreme Court as an individual right, not limited to militia service. Correct. And then phrase keep and bear arms, interpreted to mean possession, keeping, and carrying, bearing of arms, of weapons. So keeping means to have the possession of said firearm, whatever firearm that you have, and carrying, which means, and bearing, which means carrying of that weapon, meaning to be able to carry that weapon on you at all times. The Constitution says that. It's very simple. Should have been a lawyer. I should have been a fucking Supreme Judge, because I would rip these stupid laws that they make. But yeah, I mean, that's that. That's took that hiatus and just wanted to, kind of get back in tune with myself and family and the things that I actually really want to focus on. And podcasting is going to be part of that focus, but it's just going to be a little bit more spread out. It's trying to balance life, work, family, and hobby, per se. Oh, you can see like my hair looks like I have a freaking mullet. It's all good. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to come back on just to let y'all know that I am still alive. I'm still here and I'm still doing this. And what I'm going to do is going to do every 2 weeks, there'll be a show, and I'll have guests on here and we'll be talking, and hopefully I can get more than one guest at a time on a single podcast. Once again, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I thank y'all for all the support that you've sent, privately. All the messages, checking in. Appreciate that. Thank you. I love y'all. God bless. Thank you for tuning into the Tru Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. You will hear from me soon. Keep a lookout for any updates. I'll catch y'all next time. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Peace. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time is coming.
At a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped. The message is already here.